Hello and welcome back once again to the HR Social Hour Half Hour Podcast. This is episode 232. John and Wendy talk to Bonnie Natko. I'm your host, John.
And I'm Wendy. How are you doing tonight, John?
Wendy, I am well, and
Good.
We are well into August.
Yes,
once again, we are excited to be sponsored by our friends over at Namely.
Thank you, Namely. Yeah, love always working with them, so thank you. Huge shout out. Be sure you're checking them out.
Be sure to check out namely.com/HR Social Hour. Again, vanity tag.
We're so fancy.
If you sign up, you get the first month free. Great opportunity there. Speaking of opportunities, Wendy, one of the most fascinating things that's happened doing this show is seeing people make changes, not just professionally, personally. Yeah. All things have gone on. And I'd say you've had a very interesting, I think we've both had interesting journeys. I think yours is more interesting professionally because you have made some moves over time.
I have, yeah.
I think you may be ready to announce the next thing.
I am leaving the practitioner world, and I will be joining Mineral as an HR content writer. I am super pumped to be working with Kyle Cup. He is going to be my boss, which is weird to think about, but I'm super excited to work with them, start creating content beyond the world of talent acquisition. Now, I've told everyone I still am a TA girl at heart. If I go back to the practitioner world, I'm going to guess it's going to be in talent acquisition, recruitment, something of that sort. But I'm excited to be able to step away. As our friend Vadim says, not work, just write about working.
Let me be the first one to say congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm super excited for you. Kyle's a great dude. I think that is going to be a lot of fun to be able to work with and for him. And I'm excited because I know how passionate you are about writing. And the opportunity to do it, to just do that, I know is appealing. I also know, though, that I shouldn't say when, if you ever return to the trenches, it's going into benefits. Don't lie to us. You're going to do benefits.
No, payroll. Payroll and
even
benefits.
Better. You're going to go into payroll.
I'm going to go straight into payroll, process those checks.
Yes, you're going to start another podcast all about that wonderful world. Because I know that's where your heart lies, Wendy.
Writing checks. I just, love that so much. It's going to be really interesting to be able to write about all areas of HR, being able to talk with the network that we have, the community that we have about some of these different topics and share that with the clients of Mineral and the greater folks with outside of Mineral, because a lot of their stuff is out there and available for them. For everyone's information, the day this comes out is my last day at Sanford. So I will be schlepping everything down to Sioux Falls, having lunch with my coworkers, taking a few days before starting officially at Mineral. I'm really excited. I have received such a warm welcome from everyone so far, and I haven't even officially started yet. So I'm getting notices and emails and LinkedIn requests, and I am super excited to join that team.
Awesome. Congratulations again. And hey, just for the record, those of you that are in benefits and payroll, we are not dogging you.
No.
You know that we love you very much because you're willing to do that work that Wendy and I are not necessarily fans of.
That is hard work. I admire anyone who chooses that for their profession. I really do, because, two things I don't ever want to mess with is somebody's pay or their benefits.
Absolutely. I think this conversation today is very appropriate when it comes to talent acquisition and recruiting. It was funny. We've known Bonnie a really long time, and we kind of lost touch, and now we're back together. So excited that we finally got her here on the podcast. This is her first opportunity to do that. As we told her before we started, we always appreciate having new people come on that go on to bigger and better things in the podcasting world. After enough about that. Let's make the introduction and get started.
We're going to dive right in. So Bonnie is a recruiting lead at Capital One and has about 20 years of experience in creative and design recruiting. Originally from New York City, she's left the hustle and bustle of city life and is currently in the beautiful Hudson Valley region of New York, where she lives with her fiancé Dave and their two adorable, ridiculous cats, Queso and Catherine. She is an avid bullet journaler, lover of all things vintage and crafty, and also reads tarot cards. So we may need to throw that in later. Just reading some cards just to kind of see what to expect. But first question, Bonnie, what is in your glass?
I am sipping chamomile tea because I was talking all day, so I needed a little bit of some soothing vibes.
I think that is the first chamomile tea we've had, at least this year.
I think so.
We're getting a lot of water because it is warm in many places where we're recording from.
Yeah.
Kombucha, but chamomile.
I don't think we've gotten chamomile.
I don't think so.
I know I don't because that puts me to sleep. So I have to wait on the chamomile.
And a little bit of honey because I need, like, my throat was just like getting scratchy.
Oh, yeah.
We are glad to have you at your peak vocal form tonight, Bonnie. And again, it's tremendous to be able to connect finally. And first question we always ask beyond what's in your glass, how in the world did you get your start in human resources and talent acquisition?
Ooh, that is a long journey. I would say actually my very first experience doing anything human resources related was probably in college. I was a peer advisor, which was called student personnel. A lot of what we did was speak to students who were trying to decide their major. So it was almost like recruiting because you're helping and giving career advice to some degree. I also worked in the Office of Retention Services, which was kind of cool. We kind of asked people how, why might you not be re-enrolling? So when the time came, when I graduated college, I didn't go into recruiting right away, but I told the recruiter at the staffing agency I went to, I would love to do what you do. And she said, you don't want to do what I do, honey. She actually said it in like the thickest New York accent ever. And I was just like, no, really? And she's like, nah, you don't want to do it. But a few years later, after doing marketing and sales for a couple of years, I landed an opportunity at a creative staffing agency, worked at a few different creative, both large and boutique staffing agencies in New York City, and then went in-house. And the rest is kind of history. But I've always been intentional about creative and design recruiting and working like in that specialty. So I think it's worked out in my favor. Yes.
For sure. Let's dive into TA since we all do that. We all love it. We all know. You've been in as long as John and I have. We're sitting here with lots of TA experience on this podcast and been through a few recessions. And I'm sure you agree, this is nothing like any other past time. So what are some of the things that you've seen that have changed when it comes to recruitment in the past few years? How has recruitment changed for you?
I think one of the biggest changes that I've noticed has been that we're really seen of as true business partners now. I think a few years ago, there was more of a client-vendor almost relationship, I would say.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
We are the hiring manager and you deliver us candidates. And I think now there's so much more strategic oversight, a lot of planning involved, a lot of partnership, a lot of consultative work. And that's the thing that I think is truly exciting. But with that comes varying degrees of complexity that we didn't have all those years ago. Sourcing, candidate engagement, also really focusing on experiences. I don't think 5 years ago anybody said candidate experience, recruiter experience, hiring manager experience. Like the experience piece of the puzzle was just not really there. So now like we're really focusing on all of these experiences, but I think the role is getting too big to be truly full desk right now in a lot of places.
I can see that. I really like how you put that it was more like a vendor-client relationship in the past as opposed to that true partnership. I've never heard anyone say that, but it's just like, yeah, that's it. That's it.
Bonnie, I don't think I've really talked to a lot of people that focus on that creative and marketing space necessarily. I don't think we've had anybody on the show that's kind of their area of expertise, much less to have done it for as long as you have. Can you talk about maybe some of the specific challenges, pandemic out of the picture? What are some of the challenges that are there that are unique or what may be different than some of your peers that are hiring for other types of skills?
I think with creative roles and UX roles and all of that, it's really getting into that lens, to that eye of your stakeholder. So there are different flavors of designers. It's not just a one-size-fits-all approach. In branding, for example, I have 3 creative director roles open right now. One of them is multi-channel. Another is focused on brand and identity standards. Another is focused on social media content. So really, you have to understand what the differences are and being able to look at a portfolio with that very discerning eye. Same with UX designers. The whole UX field has You now have product designers and service designers, and having that knowledge and understanding what you're looking for is a skill. It's almost like being a tech recruiter, but on the other side of the brain, so to speak. And also really being able to look at a portfolio with an objective lens versus a subjective lens. And I think that takes a long time to develop. I don't think that you could say, like, I don't like that person's design, or you could say, like, okay, that person's design is very corporate leaning. They might be good for that team. And really kind of understanding the science between it. It does take a long time to develop that.
As people are gaining those skills to be able to do those types of things, what do you think's the next big thing, either for your particular area of expertise or TA in general? What do you think is coming over the next many months to a year that we should be focused on?
I think a lot of companies are starting to really look at career pathing. Like, that's a big thing right now, and really looking at how to progress careers and not have anybody hit any ceilings. So I think career development is a huge trend, because that's the number one question I get from candidates. Like, where are the opportunities? Like, how will I grow and develop, and all of that stuff? People want that investment made in them. The other thing that I see as the next big trend too is alumni networks at companies, because retention is becoming the thing. Great Resignation really made people take that magnifying glass and go, oh, we really have to focus on retention here, which is why I think, like, the career development is becoming a big thing. And also engaging with boomerangs and engaging with folks that were really top talent that you might want to bring back into the house. So those are the trends that I'm starting to see for sure.
So as we see, TA moving into more of that business partner role, getting in line with that and working closer with those hiring managers, what advice do you have for new hiring leaders, people who are making those decisions, on how to make those decisions, how to think about what they're looking at a little bit differently than, I like the sweater that she was wearing?
I think they have to stop with the FOMO, because right now we're having a lot of fear of missing out on candidates. I hear almost every candidate going, like, I have another offer on the table if you don't move. And I could see that the hiring manager's like, oh my God, we got to act fast. And I'm like, hey, whoa, slow your roll. You don't necessarily have to pick that person. Like, find the best fit for your role. Don't go all the way on that first date. Like, we don't need to rush process just because someone's saying that they have another opportunity, because there's so much great talent out there. So are they the one after one conversation, and then after, like, trying to rush and get them to a final interview right away? I always try to consult with my hiring managers. Hey, we need to, like, make the best informed decision, and, really make sure that you're doing the right thing. Don't let those nice shiny objects distract you.
What do you do with the hiring managers who have the opposite FOMO experience, in that there's someone else out there? Can I see who else is out there? Because I've seen both sides. We've all seen both sides of that extreme where, well, I'm just comparing against these two candidates. Neither one is great. Well, I have a really good candidate, but there's a lot of people looking for work right now.
The next superstar is out there.
The next rock star, ninja rock star, purple unicorn squirrel that I need to find. So how do you help them balance between those two?
Well, I think with that situation, like, I usually give them the data. Okay, let's look at how long this role has been open, because I've had this with a lot of hiring managers who are like, I'm still waiting for my prince to arrive. It's like they're or princess or whoever to arrive. And I'm like, you know what? Like, this role is, I just bring them the data. This is how many people we've screened. This is how many people you've spoken to. This is how many people made it to the final stage. Does this person even exist? And, I try to give them the reality check and saying, like, hey, let's make an informed decision here. Sometimes I'll even do the whole, like, I guess, like, since this role's been open, like, 4 or 5 months, like, not that it's ever open that long, but I'm guessing that hiring right now is not your top priority. Sometimes saying that, they're like, oh, like, because I have other recs to work on. If you're going to be dragging your, like, so I kind of sometimes do that because I think that just gives them I really should be making an informed decision right now. And wow, I really shouldn't be dragging my feet through the mud. And I also do work with my operations partners and let them know, like, hey, like, this role is dragging through the mud and it's because of the hiring manager. My time to fill is going to stink. Sometimes it's not a surprise to the business. Lo and behold.
They know.
They know.
Bonnie, we mentioned a little earlier that we first connected a while back through the chats, and then we lost touch, and then we were really pleased to see you back, I think, with our 5th anniversary chat a while back. How did you get reconnected? What brought you back? How all that came about?
I have this weird thing with Twitter where I'm tweeting, that I'm not tweeting, that I'm tweeting, that I'm not tweeting, I'm active and I'm inactive. I didn't know because I was a part of On the Mic, the OTM chat that was on Fridays. And I always had it in my schedule that was Fridays in the afternoon, lunchtime, set that in my calendar. But I didn't realize, like, I did a Google search Twitter search and looked and tried to find where the Twitter chats were. And then lo and behold, I finally found when the Twitter chats were, because I totally lost track because of my, I keep going back and forth with Twitter, but I really miss the community. That's really what brought me back. I wanted to get more engaged with people outside my bubble at my current position or my bubble of folks that I already know. Like, I want to get back and expand and engage. So that's where I'm at.
We're glad you did. And boy, OMC chat, I have not thought about them in forever.
Wow, yeah, that's been a while.
That was appointment attending for me too, because I loved the rapid fire part of that chat and being snarky.
Yes.
That was so much fun. We're really proud of the fact that we've kept this thing going as long as we have. It came out of Next Chat, OMC chat, T-Chat, and all, Work Trends and all these things that were out there. Of course, Work Trends is still there. But all these other chats, we always try to tell people there's such community. Because you used to do T-Chat too, right? At some point, did you ever do T-Chats on Wednesday?
Yes, I did. I did the whole smorgasbord.
What's crazy is I spoke at a podcast conference a couple years ago about Twitter chats. And Brian Fanzo was there. I don't know if you remember Brian Fanzo, but Brian was a mainstay in T-Chat, and he's now a speaker and he's not an HR person. He does all kinds of media stuff, creates content for big employers. It was so funny because I had not seen Brian or talked to Brian in years. He came to my session, and he said something to me after it was over. I was like, holy crap, like that Brian Fanzo. I'm glad you're back. I'm glad that you found us. It's fun to remember just how lively those communities were and how much we did learn from them and the connections we made. They really were a lot of fun.
And the gifts.
Yeah, and the gifts. Yes. John, we might need to do a rapid fire OMC feel of chat.
Tom Bolt's still around. I mean, who else? That was Tom, and
I'd have to look.
Was involved with them. We have to reach out to Tom and ask if he'd be okay with us doing it, because that really was a lot of fun.
The rapid
when we used to do those rapid fire.
The rapid fire snark was so much fun. I think we might need to. That might be something we need to revisit.
The snark was always so much fun.
Oh my gosh. All right. One of the things, Bonnie, that we have been doing is outsourcing some of our work because we're all busy. We know that. Previous guest Matt Stolick asks, when traveling alone, when do you give up your seat or agree to change seats on an airplane?
I usually give up my seat when I sometimes see parties that they got another seat in another row or in the next aisle. So I'm like, you're together. I'll give up my seat. I don't want to separate a party, They should be sitting next to each other, or a family or something clearly like that, or somebody that looks like they're in need. I'm usually good about, like, I really want a window seat. Okay, sure.
Would you ever give up your chosen seat for a middle seat?
Oh, well, that's a whole other story.
See, Matt was onto something when he asked that question.
Yeah, because I mean, it is, if you're given an aisle for an aisle or a window for a window, that's one thing. It's another if it's, an aisle for a middle.
But if you are together, if there are people together, somebody's obviously like either window and yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, anyway. Ooh, that was
that's a hard one. I don't normally ask additional questions, but that was the one I was like, ooh, yeah. If she doesn't bring up middle seat, I might have to just kind of dig on that one a little bit.
We're going to let you mull that for a bit, and we're going to take a break and be right back. This episode of the HR Social Hour Half Hour podcast is brought to you by Namely. We all do our best to keep ahead of business trends, but keeping ahead can be its own full-time job. With everyone wearing multiple hats, it's easy to fall behind. That's why you need to make the switch to Namely, the all-in-one HR solution that adapts with your business. Namely helps you and your team with all aspects of HR, from onboarding and performance management to payroll and intuitive benefits enrollment, whether you have 50 or 1,000 employees, all in one connected and modern platform. Plus, Namely is customizable for your company, culture, and goals, so they can match where you are now and adapt as you grow. Grow with Namely. Learn more about making the switch today by going to namely.com/HRSocialHour. For a limited time, get 1 month free when you make the switch to Namely. That's namely.com/HRSocialHour. Thanks again to Namely for sponsoring the HR Social Hour Half Hour podcast. Now, back to the show.
And we are back. Bonnie, it is now time for everyone's favorite part of our show, the half-hour question connection. We know not many people dream of being in HR when they're children. So what career did you dream of having when you were a child?
I wanted to be a teacher. So much so that I used to ask my mom to take me to the teacher supply store and get Delaney books and lesson planning books.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Who's one person you've gained your network in the last year that you think more people should know?
Well, I've been speaking with Shannon, tech recruiter, at data_recruiter a bit lately. She's awesome. I think also Sean Page I've been speaking to quite a bit too. Those two folks are just awesome people.
Honey, if you could go back to the start of your career, what's one piece of advice you would give yourself based on what you know now?
Have more confidence. I think having confidence. If you asked me a couple of years ago if I'd want to be in a people leadership position, I would have been like, no, I don't want that. I am an individual contributor. And I just didn't have the confidence to do that. And even at the beginning of my career, I was like, I always just was like, I have a job. I like what I do. I love getting people the right opportunities. I'm chill. But having more confidence to grow, I think is the one thing that I wish I could have told my younger self. But now I'm here. So yay.
How do you enjoy giving back to the TA community or even your community at large?
One thing that I've done with work is we're part of Europe. So Europe is really awesome, where we do volunteer opportunities, a lot of mock interviews and all sorts of things like that. And I'm hoping this year that I could get a little more involved with my local community in terms of with some educational partnerships and working with trying to advance career opportunities and kind of teaching kids and people about different opportunities. I would also like to work with career changers because I think that's a population of folks that truly need to be elevated too.
What is your favorite movie?
Oh, that's a tough question because me and my ADHD brain, I have a different favorite every week or for every mood. But this week, my favorite movie this week is Xanadu because I'm thinking of Olivia Newton-John. I would like to be in a roller disco fantasy land right now. That's pretty awesome. And it's a terrible movie, but it's so terribly awesome. So I love that movie. Yes.
How about your favorite or the most memorable live performance you've ever attended?
That's also a tough question, but I'm going to have to say favorite in recent memory. I think when I went to Lincoln Center to see Danny Elfman perform the scores to the Tim Burton scores.
That's awesome.
That was amazing. And he actually did the Jack Skellington too. So
did he sing?
Yes, he did sing.
Oh, wow.
And it was at Lincoln Center, and that was just that was just an incredible experience.
That would be. All right, Bonnie, if you could be on any TV show, either as yourself or as a character, what would it be?
I thought about this. I've been thinking like, ooh, I would be Rhoda.
Oh,
because,
wow.
Yes, I used to love Mary Tyler Moore and Rhoda growing up as a kid. And I always loved the sass and the chutzpah of Rhoda. And like the whole New York, this is your last chance. Like I just loved seeing someone on TV that was creative and sassy and smart and for the most part independent. Like that was just, I love Rhoda.
Recently, it was announced there's going to be Bonnie Natko Day all around the world. What are we going to do to celebrate?
I think on a Bonnie Natko Day, I think everyone should tap into their creativity. Like I think everybody has it within them. Everyone can create something. Everyone is an inner artist or an inner child or something that is just have the power to do something that you truly enjoy. I think a lot of people say like, I'm not creative, but you might cook something, you might build something that's creative. And I think the more creativity that we have in the world, and the more people tap into that energy as an outlet, the better the world would be, in my opinion.
Finally, Bonnie, as we've said, we are outsourcing. So if you could ask the next guest of the podcast any question, what would it be?
Well, the weather is insanely hot right now. We're in a heat wave. So I'm thinking of an ice cream social. And I'm thinking if you're going to an ice cream social and you could get a sundae, what flavor would your sundae be and what toppings would you get?
Did she pay you to ask that question?
No.
I smell a fix. I think there's a fix. All right.
No, we're not asking anyone to buy my ice cream. We're just asking what kind of ice cream.
Exactly.
What would you get for topping?
It is now in the book. We will make clear that Wendy did not influence that question, Bonnie, when we asked it. Again, I am so happy that we were finally able to make this happen. Like I said, it felt like we've known you forever, and then we lost touch, and here we are. We've reconnected. We've gotten to talk recruiting, ice cream, and Xanadu. Don't think I'd ever picture Xanadu or Rhoda being mentioned here. So that's what we love about this show, and we love about having guests because we never know what's coming up next. I know a lot of our listeners are probably already connected with you, but if they're not, they're going to want to now. Best way for them to get in touch with you out there?
At Bonded What on the Twitter first. I think like that's just that's where I am. That's where I am. At Bonded What on the gram, on the twits. That's where I am.
On the twits. That is a first for us too. I don't think anybody's ever called
I like
twits.
it. I like it.
I like it. I like it. See, you're creative. You're a trendsetter. We're going to all be saying on twits now. Okay. I'm going to have it in the show notes. And then, Wendy, how about you? Best way for listeners to find you out there?
Best way, as always, is on my blog at mydailyjourney.com. And, of course, you will always find me the second and fourth Sunday of each month, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, on Twitter, participating in our twice monthly Twitter chat. How about you, John?
Once again, thanks to Namely for sponsoring this episode. Visit them at namely.com/HR Social Hour to learn more and get that first month free when you make the switch. As for me, johnthurman.com for all things John Thurman, and for the show, HR Social Hour podcast.podbean.com. Listen, rate, review, share, and follow whatever platform you're on and you're listening to. If you follow, subscribe, whatever the term they're using, you'll get that new episode each and every week. International listeners, if you're recruiting, especially creatives or on the twits or talking about ice cream, anything and everything that you are talking about or want to talk about, we would love to talk about it with you. It's easier for you to get in touch with us, though, than get in touch with you. So reach out and let's start that conversation and have you on board. Bonnie, again, appreciate you being with us. And so for the HR Social Hour Half Hour Podcast, I'm John.
And I'm Wendy. And as always, be sure to connect,
give back, and network. Take care, everybody.
We'll see you soon.